Hello there, everyone. TheAndrata here, and welcome to episode 87 of our Enigmatica 6 Expert Let's Play series, where today we're talking about automations. I've got a lot of automations set up. We have a bunch of iron golems chilling out over there. We have like a conglomeration of iron golems, apparently. And we work on getting our stuff that we need to get our tier 4 blood orb. Anyway, let's get started. Welcome back, my friends, to another wonderful day here in the world of TheAndrata, where we have a lot to talk about. So in between episodes here, I have done quite a bit of work. Hey, Ronald the Cloudy, how you doing? We have a new friend over here. And look, we have another friend over there too. Don't know what his name is. Anyway, I have done a lot of work in between episodes with some simple automations of a lot of the things that we've been using. Because I'm tired of having to manually craft a lot of these things, so we automated it. All basically gonna stem from our automation that we did with our lightning craft, which you can see is no longer here. Basically similar setups just for all of our other things. So we're gonna talk about all of those. So first off, we have our lightning crafting set up down here. Everything is here, glass all around, everything's good. And if we go ahead and we request something, so let's say we want some sparks, let's request a set of sparks, and we watch it happen. It's going to do the thing. It's going to drop. Slowly but surely. We need to get speed upgrades in these things eventually, but bam, lightning, done. And we end up with 3 more sparks, right? So let's go talk about how that works. Pop back here. I have holes in the wall everywhere. So I had to extend this out a little bit. And what I did was I built everything underground with an entangled block because, routers are wireless. So it's super simple. So we have our refined storage coming in here. Our crafter is pointing into this gold chest here. And then our crafter here pulls from said gold chest and then drops onto the front of it. We then have a router here that is stocked with charged snowballs with an activator module set to pulse, just like we had before. And our interface that we have set up here is set to keep 16 charged snowballs in stock. I'm actually going to lower this. I don't think we need 16. We can do 8 and we'll be okay. We basically only use these when the craft is done, so we don't really need a whole bunch set aside. Oh, and apparently this holds the buffer too. So we have a bunch of charged snowballs available to us. Anyway, so this keeps charged snowballs in stock, and we do have a crafting card in here so it can craft as needed if we don't have any in the system. This modular router pulls from the interface and then sends to the router over here for our crafting. And it does keep the 64 in stock. I probably should have put, like, there's what's called a regulator, I believe, where I could have told it to only have 1 inside of here or something like that instead of having 64 in here. But it is what it is. It's fine. We'll just have a whole bunch of extra. So basically the way that this works is we request a craft off of our lightning craft, and these are all the things that I've taught the system how to make. We request a craft. It dumps all the items in here. They get pulled into our dropper modular router. It drops them. As soon as it drops, what happens is we switched over to a comparator instead of the inventory checker from RF Tools. The inventory checker was kind of acting a little funny, where if like one slot would empty and the other slot, it was just acting a little funky with when it reported as this drawer being, or this chest being empty. So I switched over to a comparator, which can check the status of the drawer or the chest as well. And I have that feeding into an adjustable repeater with a 2-second delay. So what happens is if we go ahead and sleep, because it's nighttime, and take some damage because we woke up into the wall. If I go ahead and request the sparks, right? Let's go ahead and request a set of sparks. So what's going to happen is this is going to turn on and this is going to charge up. And you can see here, it took 2 seconds and it turned off the torch. Once the items move, and we're going to take damage here in a second because of the lightning, bam, it has a 2-second delay from when the last item leaves, the comparator turns off, it waits 2 seconds, then turns off. It basically charges this up with a 2-second delay, essentially. Then it'll turn off and then trigger the router up here. And the reason being, because we're using the routers to move items wirelessly into this guy here, and we do not have any speed upgrades, what was happening is the last item was inside of the buffer here. when this chest was empty. It was still in movement here. And so it was triggering the lightning, even though the item hadn't fully, you know, dropped out of the thing yet. So yeah, but anyway, so that's the basic setup of this. It works fairly well. And then a redstone link just triggering our activator here. We have a lag spike all of a sudden. This has been happening a lot lately, and I don't know exactly what's been going on. Weird world gen or something like that, but it's just been driving me nuts. Anyway, so that's that. So then we can come clean up some holes. So that's lightning crafting. If we go back into our base here, you're going to see a couple other things that we have going on. So first things first, we have a create spout set up here with a crafter just making blaze cake base and the spout. So if I request blaze cakes here, what it's going to do is we have the blaze cake base available to us. It's going to put that in there. It's going to fill, and then it's going to pull it out, because underneath here, I have an importer set to import from this depot blaze cakes. And so it fills up and it does the thing. So now we have our blaze cakes auto filling up. We need to get infinite lava going at some point, but for now this works, and we have our lava sigil, which works great. So that is lightning crafting. That's blaze caking. We also have back here another set of automations, and we'll talk about this here. Okay, so basically you're going to see this room. This is our poor man's ender chest system, okay, with crafting. So let's go ahead and talk about what else I did. So we are in the need eventually, when we get to ender chests, to be able to make blaze fiber. And you doing this requires create, right? Create mixing. Mage bloom fiber, ditch bulb, and blazing blood inside of a mixer makes blaze fiber. So instead of manually crafting these, we have set up auto crafting. So what I did was set up over here, we have our crafting setup. If you remember before, we had our press and we had our mixer just sitting over here. Well, now we have a simple automation for this. So let's explain how this works. So beneath both of these basins, we have blaze burners, right? And the blaze burners, if you know, you give them coal or you give them a blaze cake, it will warm up. It'll warm up the basin and it'll allow a craft to complete. So we can automate that with a deployer. If we give a deployer a piece of coal, it will boop, smack it into the blaze burner and feed the blaze and do the thing that we need it to do. And so we have this set up, and then we have our basin, and then we have our press and our mechanical mixer. And both of these are set up the exact same way. And then outside of that, we just have mechanical belts leading to a chest or a barrel here so that we can access our item outputs. So what do we have going on here? Well, first things first, each of these basins are individually set up in our base with an entangled block. We have our compactor and we have our mixer as an entangled block down in our basement over here, in that little offshoot room that I showed you guys right here. So we have our compactor in and our mixer in. And on top of these, pointing into each one, is a crafter. Each crafter named. We have an anvil sitting here so we can name things. So this is the create compactor and the create mixer. And so what these do, the crafter is aimed into the entangled block, which is, for this one, is bound to air apparently. So the compactor got messed up. Let's go ahead and we'll fix it, because apparently the compactor flubbed up. Yeah. Also, it looks like my spark craft failed because I was too close to it, and I picked up the sparks and didn't let them go into the system. That's the only issue. My magnet kind of flubs things up. So that was the compactor. So we're going to do this. Pop back home, because I can't demonstrate how this works if they're not set up properly. And there. Okay, so now you're going to work. So we have the compactor and the mixer set in. So what we have is our items are going to pump into our basin directly. And that's the important thing for this setup, is that the compactor automatically, or the basin puts items in automatically. Man, these lag spikes, I do not know what's going on here. It's been happening more and more as our world gets bigger and bigger. Just getting kind of sort of annoying. Anyway, so what we have is our items pump into our basin, and then we have a modular router here. And the modular router's goal is simply to pull a white list of coal or blaze cake from the basin, and then send it to our deployer. As simple as that. And so if we say we want to request let's request a router, right? Modular router. So if we say we want this, we need to compare it. I guess, an Enigmatica comparator. So I've been teaching a lot of things, but there's things that I miss frequently. There we go. So if we say we want a router, now this is going to happen fairly quickly, so just pay attention. But what it's going to do, items are going to show up in there. It's going to pull it out of there, sent it there, did that, and it's already done. Bam. That's how fast this thing operates. Perfect. And so now we have a router in our system. Same thing with our mixer. If, say, we want blaze fiber, right? Now, the important thing with this is that we set this up to automatically output into our basin, because refined storage, as you know, we have all of our fluids, and apparently our fluids are wrong. Blaze fiber. You take 500 millibuckets. Ah, that's interesting. The recipes for both of these show that it takes more. Let's just break this and then replace it, and then it should be okay. Yeah, if we go back home and we take a look at our crafter here, and we look at our create mixer, the recipes for these call for 0.625. That's interesting. But we can fix that. We can just change this to minus 100. Let's just do 500. 00. No? There we go. Let's do that. So now that's 500 and that's 500. I don't know why. I pulled these straight from JEI. If we click on this, it pulls 0.625. It doesn't make any sense. It does say 500 in JEI. So anyway, it's beside the point. So now if we go back over to our factory and I say I want some blaze fiber, the cool thing is that it's going to automatically pump the liquid in there. You see it kick off. Blaze fiber went in and it's already done. The craft's already done. And this didn't require any sort of heating. There aren't very many recipes for the mixer that require heating, if I remember correctly. If we go here, it really is our... Okay, so the chromatic compound that we're going to work on, I have it taught to the system, so we'll work on that. Let's go ahead and kick one of those off. And so what happens here is we're gonna request chromatic compound, and I already have some, but we'll request a set, and we need some mana steel. Let's just do that. So if we request the chromatic compound, we request 1, you're going to see we're going to craft 10. I changed the recipe for this in refined storage to make 10 at a time instead of 2 at a time normally, because we're going to use 1 blaze cake for this. And I want to maximize the usage of the blaze cake because they're not difficult to make, but they're also not the cheapest thing in the world. So if we're going to heat up our guy, we're going to let him heat up and we're going to try and make as many crafts as we can. I believe this heats it up for like 50 seconds, but yeah, anyway, so if we click start on this, all the items are going to get dumped in. Blaze cake went. Our blaze burner is blue, so he's blazed up. And our chromatic compound is popping out, and it's already done. It's literally that fast. Because we have this sped up so much, everything happens really quick. I could probably set the recipe to do like 30 of these or 40 or 50, but then we run into other sorts of issues in the crafting. Specifically, if we take a look at our dielectric paste, which I have set up here, you can see it doesn't have an icon here because in JEI, when you craft this, you can't have more than 64 in any one slot, which makes sense. It's 64 to a stack. So I had to separate this out and say all of this equals 2 sets of 60, so 120. And by doing so, it removes the icon because technically there's 2 outputs that it's getting now from this recipe at all times. So yeah, basically that's where we're at with that. So that's our create stuff, all automated. So we have our chromatic compound, we have coarse lapis taught to the system, dielectric paste and blaze fiber and end fiber. I don't know if there's really anything else. I looked through to see if there is, we'll get to it, but if not, we're okay here. And the last thing you're going to see is our Ars Enchanter that we have automated. So basically, this is super simple. So what this is a modular router setup here. with Ronald the Cloudy dancing on top of it. That is a feature of this. Ronald the Cloudy is a requirement for your Ars Enchant. He has to dance for this automation to work. If he doesn't dance, it'll fail. Just kidding. Anyway, if we pop in here, we're going to see we have 3 different modules here, right? We have a polar module, which is set to pull from this chest right up here. Again, with the lag spike. I might need to reload the world here. I'll be right back. Let me reload. All right, we're back. And we need to do our traditional map re-enable so that we can see what we're doing. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Okay, so we have a polar module that is set to pull from this chest, and this chest is what is linked to our Ars Enchanter in Entangled Block downstairs. So there is a crafter technically pointing into this chest that will dump the items. The next step is a distributor module. Distributor module is just made with sender modules Mark II and a blank module. And what this does is it is bound to each of our arcane pedestals. And so it pulls the items from here and then it distributes them to each of the pedestals. The important thing with this, though, is that we have a filter set up on this. The filter, oops, I just did the wrong button. Also, we need to go trigger our system, apparently. Oh, geez. Ronald, you almost got smacked. Notice I've left this open just so that I can come down here, hit this, and then switch it back over. By the way, we're using almost 8,000 RF per tick with our refined storage system with all the crafters going. So power is definitely something we're going to need in the future. Anyway, if we take a look at our item filter, I have it set up so that it is set to have the catalyst items in the filter, right? So soul shards, sulfur dust, source gems, wixie, living wood, and other stone frames. And that's for all of our crafts. So on this one, this is a blacklist of those items. So it will not move any of those items to any of these pedestals. And then our next one is a sender, which is bound to this hopper here. And that hopper is a whitelist of all of the items in that filter. And so it sends that item into the hopper. And the reason that it sends it into the hopper is because sometimes, depending on how I set up the recipe, the soul shard might be the first item in here, and then all of the crafting reagents are going to be next. If the soul shard can't go here, and it can't go in here, because the enchanting apparatus doesn't allow you to insert the catalyst until a valid recipe is found, that you can't put anything into here, it'll jam up the system. The soul shard or whatever will sit here and it won't be able to move and it jams everything up. So I have it set to go into a hopper, and the hopper is constantly trying to push the items into the enchanting apparatus. So as soon as the recipe is valid, the hopper will push the soul shard into here and the craft will initiate. I also, when building my recipes for these, because for the Ars Enchanting recipes, it is not easy to build them. So for example, let's not look at Wixie shards. Let's look at other stone frames or other stone slabs, these guys here, right? So if I were to click this, right, and I want to teach the system how to make this, look, it gets all funky. It doesn't have an output. It has a scroll here so that you can have a bunch of different items, and there's no actual output here. So you actually need to build these manually and tell it what is going in here. So we can clear out everything, bam, and we can say, hey, other stone slate, you are flux dust. So if we go flux dust, drag that over here, we can say you need 4 flux dust, and then you need what? 4 other stone slabs. So we drag that over, and then we say 4. And then we put our source gem. And it's important to make sure that the source gem is the last item in the craft. So that way it gets put into the chest last. So then that way you don't have to worry about any of the issues that come up with the enchanting. So that is an other stone slab recipe, which actually may be better than the recipe I had because I didn't realize that that thing scrolled down. 4 flux dust. Yep. I actually need to fix this because there is this little flux dust sitting down here. There we go. Okay. Now it makes me need to check all the rest of these recipes too. Hey, all of these have issues. Lovely. So you scroll down, don't need that. And then you scroll down, don't need that. I didn't realize that little scroll wheel was there for extra item input. So that is you and you. What about you, blank rune? Yep, blank slate, and you as well. It's a good thing that I went through this with you guys, because I would have completely missed this and it would have completely jammed up the whole system, because I've only tested this once. I tested it with the Arcane Gold, which works just fine, but testing it with anything else does not. Or I haven't tested it with anything else is what I'm trying to say. So that's everything there. The only thing that we would be missing from this is the Sun Metal blend. Isn't that made in here as well? And I thought I had a recipe for this, but apparently not. But we're going to need this. Yeah, silver dust and then sulfur. See, and there we go. This jams everything up. So we're going to go like this. We're going to go Sun Metal blend. We're going to drag this over. This makes not 10, 4. Sulfur dust can go away. Silver dust can go away. We're going to say it's 4 silver dust and then 1 sulfur. Bam. And that is a valid recipe. Make sure there's nothing on the scroll wheel. Good. Now we can go over here, put this in here. And I swear I had that, but I guess not. So now let's go pop outside. And if we request Sun Metal Blend, we can see how this whole thing works. So let's request a set of these. Except for the fact that we need the silver dust, because the system doesn't know how to make silver dust. Okay, let's do brilliant fiber. Can I make that happen? Not that I need any of it. Oh, you need Sun Metal Blend anyway. I don't remember what recipes I have in here. Arcane Gold, duh. Let's do Arcane Gold. Okay. I'm going to have a lot of Arcane Gold because that was my test, but that's okay because we use it a lot. So Arcane Gold. So we're going to see items are going to start showing up in the pedestal. It's going to distribute. Bam. And then it'll start the craft. And then this is going to get pulled to the downstairs. Now, here is the important thing with this setup, because if you're watching, you may be thinking, well, TheAndrata, what happens if you request more than 1 Arcane Gold? If I request 10 of these, what's going to happen? Because the pedestal is going to just push items to each pedestal, right? And it's not going to work. You're going to jam up. But wait a minute, look, it's working. Well, how is that possible, TheAndrata? What did you do? How did you make it work? Well, it's actually fairly simple, because I ran into this issue when I decided to request multiple of a craft, and it all got flubbed up. So if we come down here, we're going to see that we have an Ars Enchanter, and this one is unique in that this has a barrel off of it, because what I have down here is a setup of our Enchanting Apparatus here, a pretty pipe that is set up to pull from this. It's got an extraction module with a speed so it can pull quickly, and 3 pieces of pretty pipe. The one thing with pretty pipes that's pretty neat is that right there. When an item passes through the pretty pipe, it will trigger a redstone signal. So it flickers this comparator as the item pops through. We're going to see it happen again. Ready? Bam. So what happens is it triggers this redstone link, which is set up to have a source gem, which is set up over here on our crafter with a source gem. And it is set to redstone pulse inserts next set. So even though we requested a bunch of these, it's only going to insert the next one whenever it receives the pulse from the craft. And so that stops the issue from happening of multiple crafts jamming up. And we could request multiple crafts of the same type. We could request a other stone or a wormhole frame and Arcane Gold and everything. Because we have it set to pulse, it's going to do it properly. And since I set a high extraction on there, it'll pull the entire stack out at once instead of pulling out individual items. So we're not going to get that pulse triggering, 200 times as it pulls out, or like the brilliant fiber, it makes 4. We're not going to get 4 pulses. It'll just pull out all 4 from there. So yeah, that's that. So then on the other side, we have our outs, which is like on the create things, is those barrels that were at the end, or this barrel. And then everything is set to pipe into an interface here because the interface is needed for refined storage to know that the craft is done. I can't set it up into a stable wormhole or else it'll never finish the craft because it never went into refined storage. And I think that was about everything that I worked on. Oh, no, one more thing. Let's go pop over here. I kind of sort of automated our Nature's Aura as well. Very simple to do. Basically, there is an item from Nature's Aura called an Imperceptible Builder That's this guy here, right? And the way that this works, it was fairly easy to make. Imperceptible builder. It's this guy, just required a corporea funnel, which we have, and then the golden stone bricks, which just requires brilliant fiber. Imperceptible builder is a item from Nature's Aura that uses aura to build on top of blocks, and what blocks you can set it to is controlled by item frames on the imperceptible builder. So you have a chest sitting on top of it, or a barrel, or an inventory sits on top of it, which is where it can access, and then you filter out what you want it to build on. In our case, is deep slate bricks. And what happens is, since there's deep slate bricks right above here, it will automatically place the gold powder on the deep slate bricks. See? Bam. Replaces it. And it's as simple as that. You could also use this for like a tree farm. You can have it set up to like so that it only plants on like dirt or something like that, and set up a checkerboard of trees or whatever. But yeah, basically that's how that works. Then we have a modular router, which is set to pull from this chest here and then distribute everything to the wooden stands. Super simple, nothing crazy. It's not like fully automated, like 100% like some of our other things are, but it makes it a little bit easier for me, so I don't have to sit here and go to each thing. I can just dump everything into the chest except the sapling, and then I come over here, grow the sapling, and we're good to go with everything. Eventually, we may want to automate this, but I don't know how often we're going to actually be doing rituals of the forest to make it necessary to tie it into refined storage. So we'll leave it here for now. If we need to, we can always entangle this and set it up the same way we have all the other stuff. We'll see if that ends up being necessary. But yeah, that's our basic automations, all stemming from the lightning craft automation, all very similar, those with their own little slight quirks, but we have a lot of the stuff automated. Our next step is going to be like to automate Botania, and really that's kind of sort of it for where we're at. I did try and automate the alloy kiln up here. This does not take any input or output from hoppers, unfortunately, so we don't really have any way to automate this, because if you remember the modular routers, the modules, like the Mark II, let's do Mark II. These things, the Mark I's. In order to make these, you have to put them in an alloy kiln, and yeah, we can't automate these, so I've been doing it manually. The system does know how to make the high retrieval modules, so that makes it a little easier. And then eventually we'll get an automated engineering workbench set up so we can automate these as well. But that's about the only thing that I can't get super automated yet. Eventually we'll automate this too very soon. Anyway, with all of that being said, what do we need to work on for the last couple minutes of this episode? Basically, I want to start working on getting ourselves our master blood orb, right? And so as you saw, we have our chromatic compound, because I taught the system how to make that. The beginning of the episode, we saw that. And so we have chromatic compound, right? In order to get the thing that we need with the chromatic compound, we have to pop to the end and drop this off of the side according to the tooltip. Never done this before. Probably should do it with only one of them instead of 16 of them to start with, and see how this is going to work. This is where I was doing my shulker killing, and apparently there's still a shulker, 2 of them according to the map, in there, but I can't find them, and I'm not going around hunting for them. They can spit as they desire. Okay, so basically it says that we need to drop this off into the void, and then it should come back. Hello? Hey, look, there it is. Come here. Come here. Hey. My magnet should have picked that up. It dropped very far off of the edge. I'd like to control that fall a little bit. If I do this whole stack, there we go. Maybe it'll come back up here. Maybe it can't do a whole stack at once. Come on, magnet. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we have Shadow Steel. So that's how you do it. I also went around and grabbed all the Roses of Oblivion in here because they're actually quite handy for aura fixing in an area. So there is Shadow Steel. We need one of these for our tier 4 orb. So we'll take that, but we're also going to need 80,000 LP, so I'm going to have to work on getting that thing done in between episodes because it's going to require me to do a bunch of stabber-rating of myself. But we'll get that done. The only other thing that I want to look at is this Tome of the Novice Blood Mage. It was mentioned in the comments of the last episode by Mute Tiefling Makoto from the development team. do not, absolutely do not use your regular Ars Nouveau spell book to do this with all of your glyphs and your spells and everything. When you convert it over, it does not remember your spells or your glyphs that you have learned. So do not use the one that you've been using before. Craft a new novice spell book and use that instead. But if we go over here, we should be able to, I believe my altar should be full. I went ahead also and made a set of each of the slates, as you can see, 64, 32, 16, and 18, just to get it all done. So we have a little bit of an inventory of those. Anyway, so not you, but you. So if we go ahead and put the novice spellbook in there. Hello? Stop extracting. Yeah, you shouldn't be extracting anything. I just made this spellbook. What is going on? Yeah, tier 2 altar with 10,000 LP. Huh. There we go. Maybe? No? Is it doing it? No, it's still not doing it. Go in there. It's acting weird. It's like an inventory desync thing going on. Maybe I should put it in here. There we go. I don't know why. It's like, I think it was acting like it was trying to use the spell on this. I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so that's going to cook up. It's going to take 10,000 LP, and we have speed upgrades or speed runes, so it should be pretty quick. And it should start converting over to tier 2. I probably should stabberate myself because we're going to want tier 2 anyway, because that's where we're at with our regular spellbook. Sorry for the noise. I wasn't expecting to do this right now, but might as well. We can probably get up to tier 3 fairly easy then, can't we? How much does this use? Jeez. There we go. Okay, give me that. Bam. So now we have the Tome of Blood, and then upgrading this to a tier 3 is going to require 50,000 LP in our tier 4, which is the Tome of Blood, and then that's it. That's the highest tier we can get. Okay, but now we have an Ars Nouveau spellbook, just like we did before, but instead of using essence, it's going to use our blood essence or life essence from our blood system. So once we get that set up, it's going to be pretty handy. Now what we can do, because like I said, it takes all of your spells out of there, we can set this inside of our scribes table, take our normal one out of here, and then shift right click on it if we can find it. Bam, and it copied 11 glyphs over to the book. So now we have all of our stuff, right? It doesn't have our spells, but it has our glyphs. So we can set up our spells like our self-heal and all that stuff again. But now we're going to be using blood instead of like self-heal. Create. It'll use our blood magic instead of everything else, right? Does that make sense? Cool. Anyway, so that takes care of our Tome of the Blood Wizard. We have our Mage's Spellbook. I'll keep them both on hand for now until we need to do anything else. And then we have our Shadow Steel. So in between episodes, I'll go ahead and get us our Master Blood Orb and potentially move our system up into our base up there. Wandering Trader, what you got for me, buddy? Anything good? Wanderer's Boots. You know, it's been mentioned to me that I should get these, and I've been waiting for one of these guys to have one because they increase your speed. But, like, oh, that reminds me. I forgot. Sojourner Sash. We should be able to make this. I made the runes in between episode. This is why I don't want to make that, because I have this. Now, this does go into my belt slot, which is slightly unfortunate because our Tetra Tool belt is in our belt slot. And I don't get any of the benefits until I actually put it. The Sojourner Sash makes us faster, but I can still access my stuff, even though this isn't in the belt slot. It's just taking up more slots on our inventory again. We need more curio slots is what we need. But yeah, Sojourner Sash. I forgot I was going to make this, but it just makes us a little bit faster. Jump height also gives us step assist, which is great. And it can be upgraded at some point to the Globetrotter Sash, which makes us even faster. So yeah, anyway, that's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I do appreciate it, and it really does help out the channel. Like I said, in between episodes, I'll get us our Master Blood Orb and our probably move our Blood Altar up to our Wizard Tower. We haven't used it for anything, and once we get the Master Blood Orb, that means we can move it legitimately and be able to access it inside of this area. So yeah, anyway, that's it for today's episode. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.